So we're not going to spend too much time into introductions of ourselves. We definitely want to introduce our panelists tonight. So our first panelist, what you guys came here for. Our first panelist started podcasting way before it was cool. He began his career as a DJ for 88.3 FM 28 years ago. He's told me the other day that made him sound old. That doesn't make him sound old. It's just experience, right? So in 1999, he started CLUBBIN RADIO in his garage, an internet radio station featuring music from independent artists. Today, he manages the Real Underground Radio right here in North Little Rock. Welcome to the stage, Frank Burton. Our next panelist is relatively new to the podcasting game, but she is the owner of Massage Arkansas, CAM Collaborative, and the nonprofit organization Arkansas Care Village. She is also the co-host of the Healthy Business Podcast. Please welcome Jessica Tolliver. And I am going to hand you guys the mics.
Thank you. We don't have a prepared speech or anything like that.
So tell us about your content. What are some lessons that you learned in podcasting?
Okay. The content we do, well, first, hi, everybody. Yeah. The content we do is all independent music, independent films, independent comedy. We try to stay away from the mainstream stuff. We try to get it to where, you know, all the gold is found, all the diamonds are found underground first before you get it in the mainstream. So we try to present that first because that's the part that matters to us the most. The real underground. That's why we call it the real underground. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
My name is Jessica Tolliver, and as I was introduced, and I'm co-host of the Healthy Business Podcast out of here in Arkansas. We are a podcast that talks about the real things that you have to deal with in business, the ugly things, the things like how you fail and how you deal with failure, little things like how to deal with consumables, like how much candy do you put out for people to come steal from you? So we talk about all the things that most business podcasts don't talk about. It's not all the financials. It's not all the high-tech business things. It's the real things that young entrepreneurs, old entrepreneurs like myself, or whatever, are doing to create your business. And that's why you should listen to the Healthy Business Podcast.
Oh, I want to tell y'all something. The first thing, we're not a podcast. We're a station full of podcasts, basically.
Oh.
So we do a lot of live shows, like we do at least 2 live shows a day, and we make sure that the artists get paid. Because you're not going to get paid on a regular radio station, on FM station. You're not going to get paid. You got to compete against the mainstream artists. So we pay, you know, we put them on there so they can get paid, and they get a large following. All our shows get like, you know, we had like in the 2.5 million subscribers, you know, and the viewers. So we try to make it to where it's run like a regular business, but it's made mostly for independent artists. We have a film part on there. Since it's called True Radio, you know, The Real Underground, we put in a thing like True Flicks. So we have independent films that we make it to where the filmmakers can get paid. They don't have to worry about going to get 1 million views on YouTube to get $10. You know what I mean? So you go straight. The money goes straight to the, you know, to them. So if somebody has a internet show or a podcast or something, we put it on there and then we add it to our 2 million, you know, viewers or whatever. And then so now they can get more views and they can get paid, and so we don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to start from the beginning.
So is this a streaming service, or do you have a dedicated channel? How does this work?
We have an app, and we have Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Mm-hmm. And
so if any of our new podcasters out here would want to get involved with your station, how would they get in touch with you?
They can just go directly to me. That we have a whole team. We have a 1-800 number. It's 1-833-TRUE-RADIO. That's 1-833-TRUE-RADIO. And they can get on the app. They can watch it. They can, you know, they can call directly and dial 5 and go to me, or they can dial 7 or, you know, one of those numbers. Excellent. And go to those people. But we make a deal with the podcast so that way we can share the views and the money so that way they can get paid.
Excellent.
Which is important. So because nobody wants a job.
If someone's interested and wants to know more but not ready to make that phone call. Is there information on your website?
Yep.
And what is that?
TheRealUnderground.com.
TheRealUnderground.com.
Or they can get the app. Yeah.
Available in most app stores?
Yep.
Excellent.
All Android or iPhone or whatever that's coming up.
Fantastic. Well, the reason we're up here as a panel is we are here to answer questions. So we have a few more minutes with our segment. If anyone has any questions, I would encourage you to raise your hand because this is the one time that I am going to be here smiling, answering questions. Other than that, I like to hide behind the door closed and just pretend like I don't know people. So, come on. Who's going to be the first person? Who has, oh, there you go. Stand up, please.
So you're fairly new to podcasting, is that correct?
Yes, I'm fairly new, fairly seasoned, not old.
Season.
So for both of you, as a new and a seasoned podcaster, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing in the podcasting realm?
So I'm going to take that first, if you don't mind. So the reason I actually took as long as I did to get into podcasting was a barrier to entry for me was having the technology to do it. I had the idea, I had the experience, lived some life, had great things to put out there in the world, at least I thought, and I didn't know what kind of camera to get. Do I need a camera? What kind of microphone do I get? Do I need speakers? Well, I see people with headphones. What are those for? Do I do this in my bathroom? There's an echo. How do I do this? I didn't become a functional movement specialist in order to be a IT professional. So that was my barrier. And when I started talking to Ty, and he's like, hey, I want a podcast too, I said, let's do this. Let's get together, let's build a room, let's put all of the things in there. Together we can put together a podcast and we can make that same barrier to entry, we can lower that for everyone else in Arkansas. So we created a space that is a semi-professional space. It has all of the lighting, it has the cameras, it has the audio, everything you could need. All you gotta do is walk in with an idea and you can see if podcasting's for you. And that was my biggest challenge. So I wanted to not only overcome that challenge, but also take that challenge away from new podcasters because I bet each one of you have a unique idea that I'd love to listen to. How'd you answer that?
That was cool. The question was again, what's the biggest barrier to entry?
Challenge.
The challenge. Just hustling. Really, because you don't need anything. All you need is a phone, an app, and a hustle. The hustle is more than everything else. Like that man right there, that man right there is a hustler. You know, he'll make something out of nothing, and you see him everywhere just getting footage, and when he does it, it's done. So you don't really have to have a whole bunch of nothing, just the desire to say, hey, at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna get on, I'm gonna do this, and having it planned out ahead of time, and then after that, doing what you plan. That's the hardest part, to me.
I think we all struggle with that a little bit. Yes, I see another question.
Okay, you talked about the hustle. What about promotional hustle? How have you guys gone about promoting your podcast to grow your audience?
Good question.
I mean, that doesn't just happen on its own.
Well, you have to, the best thing to do is have a team, have somebody, but you have to start it yourself. Flyers or finding your niche. If you have a niche, I don't know what you call it, a niche, the word niche, whatever. Just having a niche or niche, whatever you call it, and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. Then knowing what you're not going to do. Talk about what you're going to talk about, and whatever you're going to do, then you will find people in that same, that's interested in that. Don't try to be everything for everybody. Like on our station, we have our target audience, everybody's like under 40. You know what I mean? And we have a video game channel on it. And some of the main people who've been doing it for years, they don't even get on that channel, but kids love it. So that promotes itself. And then the music part promotes itself. And then the movie part promotes itself. So you don't have to be everything for everybody, just what part you want to do, and you just stick to that part, and go in on it. You have to engage yourself in it. We have a hair show, a fashion show that's all fashion called Flawless Fridays. I'm not a model, but everybody who's into that, they'll gravitate to that part, and they might not even know about the rest of it. That's why it's a station and not a podcast. It's a station full of shows, and each person is the boss of their own show, and all we do is just get them views and get them money. You know what I mean? But they have to hustle themselves too, though. So hustling is just waking up and sticking to a plan and going through that, like him.
Those are excellent points. I think to add to that, I'd like to say that it's not always easy to go from I have knowledge about gardening or whatever to go out there and get a bunch of people to listen to you. So you definitely have to hustle, but you also have to consider that word of mouth is huge. Get people to get engaged. I'm lucky enough to be a part of a podcast that has a marketing specialist involved, but I also have a little bit of background in marketing and having owned my own business. I've got an idea or two, but I'm not afraid to tell my friends. I'm not afraid to say, hey, listen, just listen to one episode, subscribe, and then tell your friends. And it is that word of mouth that will get you the traction to get from episode 1 to episode 3 to 5, and then to our grandstand. Last week, we recorded our 31st episode, and so we're very excited about that. Yes. Good. Can you stand, please?
Can't hear you.
So how challenging is it to get sponsors? I'm gonna turn that question around and ask you, how challenging is it to ask for a sponsor? Anyone? That's the question. It's not, sponsors aren't hard. And that's what everyone has to realize. It's not hard to get someone to sponsor you. It's hard to ask the question. And so once you realize that you believe in what you have, and you're willing to go out there and say, I believe in this, and show that passion, and then be willing to ask the question, you'll get sponsors.
I like to add to that. If you, it's kind of like getting a girlfriend, you know? Yeah, it's kind of like that. If you say, hey, I'm bringing something to the table, or matter of fact, if you just go on, do your thing, do what you like to do, and like I said, have a niche, you know, and they'll find you. Or you have somebody on your team to go out there and get them, most of them are gonna, you know, those are gonna be the ones that you have to go fight for. But if you're doing a show about fashion or something, it's so many things in that niche that you won't have to go out there and, you know, you won't have to go and get something about cars, just get the fashion stuff and you can go, you know, make it where it's worth it to them. And then if you're making it where your whole thing is based on benefiting the customer, it wouldn't be hard once you say, hey, you know, sponsor this. If they'll be stupid to say no, because especially if you got the viewers and you have look at it like a bridge. One side of the bridge is the audience, you know, the viewers, the listeners, whatever. And the other side is the businesses. And your business, your podcast or your business or whatever is that bridge. You have to make it to where they want to get on the bridge, and then you can go to the customers or to the business and say, hey, we have a lot of people on this bridge, you know, that could be interested in your business, and they'll be stupid if they say no, especially if you got a lot of people on your bridge. But if they say no, then forget it. They have competition. Go to them.
That's an excellent point. I think one of the questions that if you dial that down just a little bit to someone who's a little bit newer like our podcast, you'll know that you have to get that first person to cross that bridge. And that first person doesn't have to be a $10,000 subscriber. That first person does not have to give you $1 million or $500,000 or even $1,000. That first person can give you a coffee mug. That first person can sponsor your podcast with 2 free tickets for ice cream. It doesn't matter how little that sponsor is as you get those sponsors. You start with the little guy, and then you get 2 little guys, and then you've got 10 little guys, and then that's when the money guys with the money come in. They're like, hey, you've already got 10 sponsors. I want in on that. So don't be afraid to take small sponsors. Don't be afraid to ask your friends and family, and don't be afraid to say, yes, I'm going to trade you lawn mowing for $20 to sponsor my podcast, or whatever it is. Think outside the box.
But focus on the people first. Don't worry about the businesses. Worry about those people. As many people as you can get on your bridge, you can say, hey, each person is worth 10 cents. You get 1 million people, then you can say, hey, sponsor, you know, hey, I don't want your coffee mug no more. I want you to, you know, pay me per, you know,
per subscriber, 100%.
Per subscriber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't try to cheat yourself. Get the people first. And you get the people, the viewers, the listeners, or whatever, the audience, and then get the sponsor. Because, you know, if you only got one person on your bridge, then why would the business want to be a part of it, you know? You know, you charge them seats and booths, you charge them booth rent, or whatever you want to call it, to come and meet and greet the people that come on your bridge. Don't try to charge the businesses first. Charge the get the viewers first. Say, hey, we got a party on here, and they come over there and they see it, and they want to be a part of it.
Wonderful.
Does that make sense?
How are we doing on time? Are we about wrapped up? Okay, excellent. Well, you guys have been great. And if you have any questions, we'll be milling about. And I do appreciate your time. Thanks so much.